Okay, well, we'll see you when you get here.
Tell me, what's going on here today?
Yeah, today we're celebrating the 20th anniversary of the Fund for Santa Barbara's annual fundraiser, Bread and Roses. Well, it's sort of already started. We have our biggest fundraiser of the year, the Bread and Roses event, and it's the 20th anniversary. And we're trying to raise about $200,000 for our work, our grant making, and our technical assistance work.
Oh my gosh, I love you. They're just in.
How are the kids and grandkids?
It's like, what do you say about doing that?
You are?
I'm Helene Schneider, I'm the Santa Barbara Mayor.
And why do you support Fund for Santa Barbara?
I love the fund. I've been a fan of the Fund for Santa Barbara for over 20 years. They really reach out to the community and find innovative ways to promote social justice and environmental protection and women's rights. A lot more than traditional foundations do. It gets a chance for grassroots organizations to get started and then grow and thrive. And I just appreciate their passion for the community.
Thank you. And how do you like being mayor?
Mayor's fabulous, and I hope to be mayor again for another 4 years. And thanks for asking.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
Puts on a good party, doesn't he? Oh, let's do this.
A lesson I learned early.
And you are?
I'm Doss Williams. I'm your state assembly member, your state legislator.
And why are you here giving your support?
Well, I'm giving my support because when I was starting in activism, fighting for a living wage, the Fund for Santa Barbara was there for the living wage movement to help us get things started and to successfully bring ordinances to several cities in Ventura and Santa Barbara County. And the fund was willing to invest in that project at a very early level, and I think that that's what they do all the time, is they invest in projects that may or may not make it to a policy change, but could and need that support.
Well, very good. And can I get a shot of the food in your fridge? Like I did back in the touring.
Sure. Yes, today it would be a little bit of, I caught lobster last night, so there would be a little bit of lobster.
And how's it in Sacramento these days?
Well, you know, it is definitely the right time to make change in our state capital. Things have gone in the right direction in 2 years. We've gone from a $26 billion deficit to having a balanced budget, reinvesting in public education, and raising the state's credit rating and getting the economy back on track. It's went well. I hope a few years from now, Washington will be as functional as Sacramento is right now.
I hope so too. And are you squared away with your office?
Yes, I got out of the punishment office. I'm back in my normal office. Everything's fine.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
So, and you are?
I am Vijaya Jamalamadaka, and I am very proud to be on the board of the Fund for Santa Barbara. I've been on the board for about 3 years now, 2.5 years, and I really love the people, and I love the events. I love being on the grant making committee, looking at the grants that come through. There's so many people doing good work over here, and I'm very proud to be part of supporting our community.
Can you give me an idea of some examples of the types of grants given out?
So we give to grassroots organizations that are working for change in our society on environmental, social justice, economic, political, all of these, but mostly organizations that do not have access to funding from other sources. So that's what we like to do, is to be give some seed funding and supporting organizations that are working at the grassroots level.
Okay, and what's going on in your life?
So I retired from being with the Air Pollution Control District for many years, and I want to give back to the community, and this is one of the ways of doing it. I'm also doing docenting at the Botanic Garden, other volunteer work. So really busy. Santa Barbara is a great place to be retired.
Okay, nice to see you.
Thank you.
And you are?
I'm Doreen Farr, and I represent the 3rd District on the Santa Barbara County Board of Supervisors.
And why do you support the fund?
Oh, they just make such an impact in the community in so many positive ways with the grants that make for so many causes and groups that might otherwise not be able to get the funding that they need, that have gone on to do really wonderful things. So it's well supported in the community, as you can tell by this event, and I'm very proud to be a part of it.
Thank you. Nice to see you, Doreen. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
What did you just say?
And you are?
Roger Durling, Executive Director, Santa Barbara International Film Festival.
And why are you here supporting the fund?
The Fund for Santa Barbara and the Film Festival has been partners for many years now. You know, they fund the social justice sidebar at the film festival, and they fund social justice documentaries, and it's one of the most important relationships we have. So I'm here to support.
Okay, well, thank you, and keep up the good work.
Absolutely.
Well, hi, and you are?
I'm David Landecker. Larry, how are you today?
Very good. Now, David, why do you support the fund?
I've supported the fund for a long, long time. I was on its board once upon a time. It's this incredible organization that gives money to organizations that are doing social good, social change, and it does it through the grant-making committee, which is all activists. It's got a board of people who are very responsible and knowledgeable about the community, but the people who give the grants are the people who are in there understanding what the needs are. It's a great model. It's been really successful.
Can you think of a couple grants given out that you thought were well used?
Oh, there's so many. Of course, I'm kind of biased to the environmental grants. The Environmental Defense Center, the stuff we did on fracking was supported very strongly by the fund. But there have been stuff with indigenous people, the Native Americans coming up with great new programs. There's a program for youth where called Youth Making Change, where kids get to go out and give their own grants to kids programs. There's great programs in the Latino community. There are programs for health. There are the things that don't get the customary expected funding that are cutting edge and something new that tend to attract the attention of the fund.
Okay, well, good to see you, David. You keep up the good work, too.
Thank you so much, Larry. Take care.
And you are?
Ed Easton.
And why are you here today?
I'm here to help the Fund for Santa Barbara.
Why do you support them?
They do good things. They fund good organizations.
Can you think of any examples of types of projects where the money was well spent?
Now you got me on that one.
Okay, that's okay. But you support what they do?
Yeah. And this is a grand party.
And you're currently on the City Council in Galena?
That's right.
How's that going?
It goes very well. Galena's in fine shape, and we've got a lot of development taking place, but it's all according to the general plan.
Well, what are some of the big issues in Galena these days? Development, I guess.
Well, some people are, and I anticipated they would be, disturbed by how much development is taking place, but it's all was planned. It's just happening a lot earlier than anybody expected. And we've got more coming down the road, and it will be built out 5 years, 6 years.
Okay.
It's astonishing.
Okay, well, good to see you, Ed. Keep up the good work.
Great pleasure.
And would you like to say a thing or two?
Well, I'd just like to say I'm glad everybody came to Bread and Roses. This is my probably 10th year here, serving the people as they enter in, and it's just a phenomenal event that's just going to be super successful this year and benefits so many organizations in town. It's absolutely great.
Yeah, nothing like being offered a glass of wine when you arrive.
That's true. We do have a phenomenal auction. It just bids out every year. So all for the greeters' responsibility for getting the people ready to make their bids.
Okay, that's a good idea. Okay, thanks a lot.
Sure,
thanks for your efforts.
Okay.
I see her. Between the two sides.
Thanks, ladies. Hi. Thanks for helping out here.
Appreciate it. Always
Good to see you.
And you are?
Ignacio Alarcón.
And are you on the board?
I am on the board. Again, I was on the board before and then came back after 2 years.
What should people know about the fund and its work?
What should people know about the fund? Well, it works for so many different groups around town and in the North County. So that's the success of the fund has been because of that presence on so many lives of so many groups.
Well, thank you for doing your work.
Thank you.
And you are?
I'm Peter Hasland. I serve on the Board of Trustees for Santa Barbara City College.
And why do you support the fund?
Because our students benefit from many of the activities that are supported by the fund, and that's a good thing.
Okay, and how's City College doing?
Santa Barbara City College has been identified as the #1 college in the entire country. Actually, I think it's in the entire universe, because we're that good.
You are? Okay, well, thanks for your good work and nice to see you.
Thank you.
And you are?
I'm Karen Hickman, and I bought these friends of mine, 3 friends, and I said that these people, the people who give to these things, give from the heart, and you will appreciate the things that they give money to, and will want to support them.
And what do you do?
I'm a financial planner and a tax person.
And are you involved with the fund, or just aware of their...
Actually, I'm on a board that they've made grants to at different times.
Okay.
So, and Jeff, their executive director, has consulted with us several times, pro bono, and been very helpful. So I support them with my money and, with my energy.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, so you are?
I'm Bendy White, member of Santa Barbara City Council.
And why do you support the fund? Nice to see you.
Well, the fund is core to community activism and helping our nonprofits in this region. Just Nancy Alexander has created this beautiful organization that gathers funds and distributes them to the organizations that really keep our less fortunate folks in better shape, and just a variety of wonderful community programs.
Did you know of any in particular that you could think of that you'd like to shout out to? Any programs?
I'd have to look at the specific list, Larry. You're busting me on that one.
No problem.
Yeah.
How's it going on the City Council?
Well, I think we're doing pretty well. Of course, it always helps to have additional revenue, and we are seeing at least upticks in our finances. And I think we are at least continuing to be able to allocate money to our social services, which I'm grateful for. A little bit of help that the city gives, I think, is a boost to the nonprofits in our area.
And I bet the fund helps the city in many ways.
Well, they're just this core, and also larger numbers too. They come through with some very substantial grants that help us in key places.
And what do you think about the weather today?
It's perfect. It's a Santa Barbara day. Shh, don't tell anybody.
Okay.
It's perfect.
We'll only play it in town.
There you go.
Okay, nice to see you, Bendy.
Nice to see you, Larry.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thanks for the interview.
And you are?
Dave Davis from the Community Environmental Council.
And why do you support the fund?
Social and economic justice. They are our friends that are carrying out those programs in this community where it's really needed. High cost of housing, high cost of living. a lot of people here in the service economies. Fund for Santa Barbara basically is critical, basically, to meeting the needs of the low-income community that's in this area.
Can you think of some examples that they've done?
They sponsor every year. They sponsor the film festival, the section on social justice. And I got to tell you that the people that have networked there have gone on to spin off to do programs in the community. That series that they do at the Santa Barbara Film Festival, I believe, is one of the most important, critical thinking parts that brings in thought leaders from throughout the community.
Nice to hear. Well, keep up the good work, Dave.
Thanks, Larry.
Nice to see you. Well, hi, and you are?
I'm Elena Hernandez from the Que Padre parent group.
And are you involved with the Fund for Santa Barbara?
We are recipients of their grants, and they are supporting our Que Padre group from Santa Maria.
Well, so what are they doing for you, or what's your program?
The program is a group from Santa Maria High School from Santa Maria who are advocating for student rights, for the betterment of their education, helping them do better test scores on their state test, and just empowering parents for education on all educational issues.
And how was it working with the fund? Was it hard to get the grant?
You know, let me give you a little bit of history. I don't know how much you can do, but our parents were selling tamales, trying to do student incentives for field trips so that they could improve their test scores. If we would not have had the Fund for Santa Barbara funding, I think our project would have been lost. So from now, we have had great many incentives for students, parent empowerment, and as you can see today here, we have parents who are involved in many other activities, connecting and networking on how to better not only themselves, but their children and the community.
And could you say a couple sentences in Spanish of what's good about the fund?
El Fund for Santa Barbara es buenísimo porque apoya a todos los padres, a todos los estudiantes en cualquier meta que sea para mejorar la comunidad.
Okay, well, thank you, and good luck to you.
Okay.
They're a good background.
They are. Yeah. And you are?
My name is Renner Wunderlich. I'm on the grant making committee.
And so what goes on with that committee? What's the process?
The committee reads and reviews about 45 grant applications twice a year. And we get together and very carefully decide which of the ones we think would be the most useful to people and the ones that we want to fund based on their needs and based on their history with other funding and based on the amount of money we have to distribute.
Now, who typically gets them? Is it just nonprofits?
It's frequently nonprofits, but it's not restricted to nonprofits. There are some startup groups in schools and organizations that have decided they want to do some social change work, and even if they are not nonprofit, we'll frequently give them startup funds and sometimes more.
And how does one find out about how to apply for a grant?
Well, you can go directly to the website Fund for Santa Barbara, and there's a section that says grant seekers, people, and also grant funders, and it's right there on the website.
Is there a certain time of year that one needs to apply?
Well, we're reviewing 45 grants right now, and are starting to make decisions about who to do site visits with, but it's twice a year.
Okay, right now is October 2013.
Right, and the next grant cycle, to tell you the truth, this is my first year, so I'm not sure when we're going to start doing it again for the second cycle, but it's roughly 6 months from now.
And I bet people are thrilled when they're awarded a grant, huh?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. We do a lot of work to make sure that there are people who really can make the best of the funds we give them.
Okay, well, thanks for doing your work.
Sure, thank you.
And you want to add anything? No comment?
No, I think he covered everything.
And do any of you have anything to add?
No, actually I have a question. Do you have grants for youth?
Yes. There's plenty of grants. In fact, I would say grants for youth, I would say that, I don't know if it's the majority, but I would guess that the majority of the grants are requested by and are given to young people.
So, and you are?
I'm Gina Carvalho. and I'm the Communications Director at the Glendon Association, and we're a nonprofit that we do education, training, and responses in suicide and violence in our community and nationally.
And did you get a grant for the fund?
I got a grant for the fund for the Santa Barbara Response Network, which is also an association. I'm the public affairs officer for the network, and we do psychological first aid in the aftermath of suicide and violence and critical incidents in the community. I got a grant from the Fund for Santa Barbara to start a team in Santa Maria, a bilingual team that will help families who have been impacted by suicide or violence. And I'm extremely supportive of anything the fund does, because it'll fund issues that actually affect the everyday lives, not just the disenfranchised, but just people who are dealing with issues that other people may not want to fund. And I think that's really important that we support what the fund's doing for that reason.
Anything else you want to say?
Just thank you for having the guts to stand out and support social action, change, and the well-being of our citizens.
Salud Carvajal, 1st District County Supervisor.
And why do you support the fund?
Well, the Fund for Santa Barbara does so much great work in our county by providing grants to organizations, oftentimes non-traditional organizations that are doing a lot of work to organize, to bring about social justice and social change, as well as some direct services. And I just think they're one of a kind and an extraordinary, essential organization in our community.
Well, hi, and you are?
I'm Wendy Sims-Moten. I'm the co-chair for the grant-making committee for the fund.
And tell me about that.
What we do is, our job is for these wonderful people who are giving donations, we get to be a part of making the grants out to the community, that the work that's going on. So we're able to make those decisions, and then we recommend those to the board.
And if someone wants to get a grant, what should they know?
They need to know, they can come in and talk to either Jeff or Nancy in an application process. There is an actual orientation process that all the applicants can come to know what to do, how to get a grant, and there's a lot of technical assistance that we provide as well.
Can you give some examples of grants that have been given out?
Sure, we've given out grants for youth that are making change in the community, for homeless efforts that are going on, for different, for instance, like the fracking incidents that are kind of going on, to support those types of grants that are going on, and just a whole variety of things, working with youth, working out into the community and making this a better community.
Okay, well thank you and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
A brunch for two at Four Seasons. How can you resist that? Oh, here's one that's always popular, lunch with the mayor. Oh, sorry, it's gone.
Lunch with the mayor?
Yes, it's already gotten. $100 gift certificate.
And you are?
I'm Steve Cole.
And why are you here today?
I'm here today because I support the fund, and I've been here for 5 straight years, and I really do appreciate the opportunity for all the people of Santa Barbara who come together to support this fabulous fund. And all I can say is that my daughter works for AHA, which the fund supports, and my daughter is so happy with her job at AHA.
What is AHA?
The Academy for Healing Adult Arts. The Academy for Healing Arts, and it's for teenagers who are wayward, who have an opportunity to be involved with the community, and also their talents, and they're able to expand their consciousness and choose a life of joy and peace and happiness, as opposed to a life of wandering and lost. So that's what AHA is all about. So I support AHA, and that's why I'm here.
Nice. What do you do for a living?
I am a retired school teacher and a builder of custom homes, and I enjoy Santa Barbara. I've been here for 40 years.
Nice to see you, Steve.
Thank you.
Well, hi, and you are?
Neil Anantani.
What would you like to tell me about the fund?
The Fund for Santa Barbara is very special because they support grassroots progressive organizations. Their whole approach to philanthropy is different from most, where a large donor normally says, these are the causes I'd like to support, versus a committee of people who work on the ground on all kinds of issues coming together and reaching consensus on the type of programs that they would like to support. And as a grant-making committee member, I'm very proud to play a role in that whole decision-making process. And it's hard work to reach a consensus with people who are so passionate about different issues, but it's a very satisfying experience once that consensus is reached. We have completed the first round for this cycle, and on November 9th we will decide who finally earns those valuable dollars that people are unwilling to give to unestablished organizations. So I'm very grateful to be a part of the experience, and grateful to be here.
And tell me, is that a non-paid position on the committee?
It is absolutely unpaid.
What do you do for a living?
I just took a new job. I have a public health degree, a master's, and we're establishing a new clinic system in North County of Santa Barbara that has increased access to health care for those who are uninsured and underserved. So that is my job on the side, but I volunteer my time with the fund because it's something I'm very passionate about, and I know very good people that are involved with the organization. Jeff Green, Elena Richardson, you know, Gary, they're all great people, and they're very passionate as well, and I'm happy to play a part in it.
Any thoughts about Obamacare?
You know, this is my background, so I can speak with knowledge on this. The #1 healthcare system in the world, the top 10, they're all universal healthcare systems. France, England, Germany, Sweden. These are countries that offer universal healthcare to people no matter what their income status is. And it is far time that our country takes major steps in that direction. And in fact, Obamacare, he did as much as he could. There is more to be done to have that kind of complete access to health care for people top to bottom. And you know, this is a step in the right direction. The resistance from a certain party breaks my heart because they're basically saying that you have to be of a certain income level in order to have access to that kind of health care. But we've taken a huge step. I couldn't be happier, and I can't wait for more steps to be taken so that access to health care is available for all, documented, undocumented, rich, poor. It should not matter. Health care is a right. And that is absolutely the case.
Okay. Well, that was a good rehearsal. Should I hit the record button now? Okay.
My name is Gray Vogelman.
And what would you like to say about the fund?
I would like to say I think it's great that there's an organization such as this to disperse funds to organizations in need, benevolent groups and organizations that can definitely use the help. And I think they do a great job at doing it.
Thank you. Would you like to add anything, either of you?
I'm not really from
Is that on or off?
It's on.
Oh, I need to think.
So, would you like to say something about the fund?
Okay. I support the fund because they support the smaller grassroots groups that are our future.
Nice. Thank you, Dan. So, tell me, why do you support the fund?
Well, we're from Ideas at UC Santa Barbara, and it's an undocumented student support and advocacy group on campus. We applied for a grant last year for our yearly student conference, so we were able to get funding for that thanks to, I guess, the donors here. And through that money, we were able to host a conference. I think like 150 students.
Yeah, 150
50 high school students attended, and it was kind of like a college readiness conference. And so these are like students that probably would not be able to attend, like visit a university like prior to applying because of like, you know, financial issues. And so it was a really great experience for us who were hosting it, and as well as for the students who attended.
Do you think it might have made a difference to some kids going to college who wouldn't otherwise?
I think it did. We actually got feedback from students that, you know, they were totally clueless about like applying for college and just the whole process. And, you know, being at the conference, they said that they felt like more empowered, and they felt like they were starting to form networks with other students, and so it was really good for them as well.
Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, just to point out that this is a service that UCSB Ideas provided for undocumented students, so it's not just your low-income Latino students, but really a population that's underserved in Santa Barbara County. And so because of the grant that they got from Youth Making Change, they were able to really make that conference happen with as many workshops as they could, not only on how to apply to college, but also how to educate themselves on immigration issues, which is really important in our county.
Situated, and our short program is beginning. First, I want to introduce Viviana Marzano of Voices Translation.
Good evening, my name is Viviana Marzano, and I will be the interpreter to Spanish today. If anybody needs any receptor, please come to the side of the stage. Buenas noches, mi nombre es Viviana Marzano y yo voy a interpretar al español esta noche. Si alguien necesita receptor, por favor venga al costado del escenario. Gracias.
Thank you, Viviana. I would also like to introduce our board member, Cara Powis, and Laura Lippincott, who will be providing ASL translation for us, interpretation for us. The fund does all it can to make itself a truly accessible foundation and to walk its talk. As an example, tonight is a zero waste event. Please note that nothing will be thrown away. We have green bins for compost, and that would be food, biodegradable plates and cups, and the blue bins are for recycling. I also wanted to mention that the Fund for Santa Barbara is the county's only fully bilingual Spanish-English grant-making program, and we're very proud of that. And finally, I want to say a big thank you and introduce you to this year's Bread and Roses co-chairs, both of whom are members of our board, Jane Brody and Margaret Lazarus.
Hello. The fund is so grateful to the more than 400 donors of cash, auction items, volunteer time, and most importantly, dinner to tonight's event. The fund has a small and growing endowment, but unlike other foundations, we raise the vast majority of our funds. We raise 90% of our annual operating budget each year from over 700 local individuals, foundations, and businesses. And tonight's event, our biggest fundraiser, provides nearly a quarter of that. What makes the Fund for Santa Barbara work is a partnership of activists, donors, and volunteers. Speaking of partnerships, tonight was created by over 100 volunteers. So thank you, volunteers. And a gigantic thank you to this year's major corporate sponsors: Hutton Parker Foundation, QAD, Santa Barbara Independent, and Mesa Lane Partners. We also want to thank Antioch University Santa Barbara, Brownstein Hyatt Farber Schreck, Business First Bank, Classic Party Rentals, Deckers Outdoor Corporation, Fielding Graduate University, Mullen and Hensel, Newshawk, Parent Click, Rabobank, Sage Publications, SEIU Local 620, and Salisbury Wealth Advisors. And now a huge thank you to our food and beverage sponsors this year. Arlington Tavern, Cadiz, China Pavilion, Del Pueblo Cafe, Goodland Kitchen and Market, Louis California Bistro, Nimita's Cuisine, Opal, Soho, Via Maestra 42, World Cuisine, Telegraph Brewing Company, Alma Rosa Winery and Vineyards, Flying Goat Cellars, Halama Wines, Joseph Blair Wines, Kalira Winery, Piedra Sassi, Museum Cafe, and the Berryman. So thank you to all of you who make this possible. And I'd like to welcome Margaret Lazarus, co-chair, board member, and a fellow girl from Queens.
Hi. When I came to Santa Barbara, I knew I wanted to find an organization that was working on some of the critical issues of the day. And in my professional work as a documentary filmmaker, I was working on some issues of social justice, but I was overwhelmed with what else had to be done. I mean, the destruction of our environment, the growing gap between the rich and the poor, the need for immigration reform. Well, I'm preaching to the choir here. You wouldn't be sitting here if you didn't know what the incredible issues we had to face. And then I found the fund. And the fund works, as you know, change, not charity. And that's more than a nice expression. It's really a description of their fundamental approach to grant making and technical assistance and support. They support individuals and groups and organizations that look at structural ways to promote social justice. And the other thing that's extraordinary about the fund is the way they model the grant giving. It's not the old model of the people on the board and the people with the money and the power making the decisions about who gets the money. In fact, the majority of our grants, the decisions to who gets funded comes from our grant-making committee, which is composed of community activists and experts that are grassroots, people living in the communities that are affected. So it is a great honor for me to be part of this organization. And I also want to honor you for supporting us and making what we do possible. And now I have the great privilege of introducing someone who's worked for the fund in some capacity for 16 years. Someone who many of you know because of his tireless effort, his enthusiasm, all reflecting the love he has for his job. Our executive director extraordinaire, Jeff Green.
Hey everybody. How's everybody doing? You look pretty happy. I am pretty happy too. I'm going to ask all of us, if you're in the bar, or if you're in the food line, or if you're up on the balcony, just gather in a bit for a moment. We're going to talk a little bit about why we're here. So before I do anything else, I want to thank Margaret and I want to thank Jane, our co-chairs. Margaret is one of our, absolutely, give them a hand please. Margaret is one of our newer board members, and Jane is a veteran board member on her way out, and they got together this year and agreed to co-chair this event, and that's a huge gift to us, so I want to thank them. I also want to thank two women who have done an incredible amount over the last decade and probably a half. They have been our auction co-chairs, and of course the auctions here are a centerpiece of this celebration and help us raise the dollars we need. And those two fabulous women are Kathleen Scott and Denise Shardies. And I'm sure they're over there working right now, so I want to thank them. I would actually like to ask all of you to take a moment, turn to someone next to you. It doesn't matter if you know them or not, or if you came here with them, or if you've been married to them for 80 years. It doesn't matter. Just thank them for being here, because we're going to talk about why we're here. But just thank everybody for being here. I'm going to thank you. Thank each other. Doesn't that feel kind of family-like? Yeah, it's kind of a family here. How many of you have been to a Bread and Roses before? All right, that's the power of Bread and Roses. How many of you are first-timers? By definition, that's the rest of you. Excellent. Well, welcome to this. This is our biggest celebration of our progressive work together. It really is a family. And actually, I want to acknowledge my family. My family is here. My fabulous wife, Seraphim, and my daughter, Ellery, are out there. And my parents came all the way down to make sure that I could work 24/7 with my fabulous staff to make this all happen. So this really is a family event. And I think that one of the things that's most important about this is that this is a group of people that are not afraid to take on tough issues. I think all of us that are part of this organization understand that speaking up for the underdog, calling out when we see a problem, whether we see someone being treated unfairly or we see a policy that doesn't quite make sense, doesn't live up to our vision of what justice, equality, and access look like, feel like, sound like, that this is a place where people say, you know, we can do something about that. And that's what this work is about. And this is one of those organizations where it's really a hub. No matter what you're working on, no matter what your role is, no matter who you are, how long you've been involved, this is a place you can come together. We can have the debates internally. We're not all on the same page. We don't agree on everything. But we share these principles. And that's what this organization has been about since its inception 33 years ago. And speaking of family, I want to acknowledge our founder, Nancy Alexander, who's here tonight. Nancy put this all together, this motley crew, many years ago, and we're all grown up now. Or when they're kind of, I'm not grown up. Some of us are grown up, isn't that right? Some of us are grown up? All right. One of the things we do that makes us different is that we engage, and not only ourselves, but we encourage every nonprofit C3 organization out there, every civic-minded organization, engage in politics. Politics is not a bad word. Unfortunately, it's been abused. There are certainly kinds of politics that many of us don't appreciate, but the engagement in policy, setting the rules, deciding what we collectively think is fair and should be done, that's what politics is, politics with a small p. And we need to do more of it. We need to talk about this. And I'm really proud of the fact that a lot of the organizations we support, as well as our own organization internally, does this. And on that note, we also engage with our elected officials. And when I say engage, we all know that sometimes that's a euphemism for tell them they're doing it wrong. And sometimes we're doing it right. But regardless, we engage on these issues. And yet they come back. They're here. And I'm very proud of that. I want to acknowledge, and please, well, I'm going to read you a very long list of elected officials. I'm going to ask you to hold your applause. But this is who has joined us tonight, either in person or by being a contributor or being a sponsor. I'm going to start at the top. Congresswoman Lois Capps, Assembly Member Doss Williams, 1st District Supervisor Salud Carbajal, 2nd District Supervisor Janet Wolf, 3rd District Supervisor Doreen Farr, Santa Barbara Mayor Helene Schneider, Santa Barbara City Councilman Bendy White, Galena Council Member Ed Easton, Galena Council Member Paula Perotti, Santa Barbara School Member Monique Limon, Santa Barbara School Board Member Dr. Pedro Paz, Galena School Board Member Susan Epstein. We have the Santa Barbara Community College District Board of Trustees members Marty Bloom and Peter Housen, and we actually have the president of SBCC here tonight, Lori Gaskin. We have Coastal Commissioner Jana Zimmer. We have Lauren Hansen, a water board member. We have an incredible cross-section of elected officials, and of course we have elections coming up, and we have candidates that I want to acknowledge, at least those that I'm aware that are here. Candidates for Santa Barbara City Council, David Landecker and Megan Diaz-Ali. And of course, candidate for County Sheriff, Sandra Brown. And many, of course, of the folks that are elected are actually rerunning for their spots in these next 2 election cycles. So these are some of our elected policy leaders that are here. Let's give them a hand. I also want to acknowledge our board in GMC. This is a small but mighty organization. We have a board of directors. Some of you have met some of them, but board of directors members, would you raise a hand and just say, hey, we're here. You're here. Cara right here, Tanya right here. This is the volunteer leadership. These are my bosses. These are the folks that are the end-all, be-all of the volunteer body that makes this organization run. policy, fundraising, and all the good work of a board. And then we have our grant-making committee, a separate body of community organizers, activists who are fully empowered to make our decisions around the dollars that you give and where they go in our grant-making. So grant-making committee members, we have about a half dozen of you folks here. Say hello, raise a hand. This is the crew that really makes our model work. We believe in that separation. We believe that people, there's the radical notion that people dealing with an issue or living in a community that's challenged by a certain situation know best. If you live it, you know it, and you're in the best position to try to help us figure out what we can do about it, and that's what our grant-making committee is all about. Our grant-making has soared to over $500,000. If you know anything about the history of the fund, in the last decade, that's a 700% increase. During the course of the recession, it's doubled. Let me say that again. During the course of the current recession, I still call it current, by the way, but the one that's theoretically over, it has doubled. And that's because you all and everybody who couldn't be here tonight are part of making sure that we're here more than ever for the folks doing this work. And I'm very proud of that. So thank you all for that. Let me just end with a few things about our work and why we think it's important. This is important because it works. More than anything, the work we do is important because it works. If you take a look at history, if you're a student, how many of you are students of history? And I'm not talking about a Newt Gingrich student of history. I'm talking about a student of history. All right. Students of history, you can look back and you can ask yourself a question about 20 years ago, 40 years ago, 100 years ago. Are we doing any better? It doesn't always feel like it at the moment. We all know that. And yet we can point time after time. The folks that were on the fringes, they were the radicals. They were the folks that were pushed out of the room. They had to do the demonstration before they were invited to the meeting. In the end, history moves in that direction. Almost always. Right? This is what we're celebrating. This is what we're celebrating. So, I'm going to name a couple of issues. Just in this last few months, have you noticed the revival in the conversation about a living wage? And it's not just happening among labor folks. It's not just happening at a governmental level. It's happening among people working in some of the lowest paid jobs around the country, with representation or not, saying, you know, this is ridiculous in the wealthiest country on the planet. We've talked about this with immigration. We've had some recent victories in immigration reform. We had the Trust Act signed not that long ago in this state of California. We have the AB 540 momentum finally taking off after a decade on the books. This is progress. Over time, it does work. Climate Change, 350.org is the sponsor here tonight. Guess what? The vast majority of thinking people acknowledge there is human-induced climate change. Now we have to have the conversation about what to do with it, but nonetheless, it just started to drive policy. And finally, this has been a huge year for gay and lesbian, bisexual, transgender rights and equality. We have marriage equality in California. DOMA is history, where it belongs. And some of you know that this is actually the anniversary of Matthew Shepard's murder. Remember what that felt like at the time? Remember how far that looked then? So it's a struggle. It takes a lot. And yet, time after time, we look back and say, yeah, what was the question again? I have a 2-year-old. I have another baby joining our family in January. Thank you. I am very happy, and I'm happy for many, many reasons. One of the things I'm really happy about is the world that they're born into. They're going to ask that. They're going to say, what was the question again? Why was that even up for debate? Right? We all think of that moment in time when we came into this world, and we can look back on that. So that's that long arc of history, most eloquently stated by Martin Luther King Jr., but certainly many others have stated that, where it bends toward justice. That's really the history of this country, of this world, and that's what we're here to celebrate. So I just want to thank you all for being part of that. I want to give a hand to everybody that's been part of any one of those struggles. And I don't usually read quotes, but I'm going to read one. I put this down. I decided I'd decide in the moment, and yes, the moment is now. When I despair, when I remember that all through history, the way of truth and love has always won. There have been murders and tyrants. For a time they can seem invincible, but in the end they always fall. Think of it always. That was Gandhi. That's what we're here to celebrate. Before I turn over the mic, I want to thank the folks that are my work family. We are a small staff, small but mighty staff. We have grown. Just since last year, we've grown again. We keep doing that. That's a good thing. Thank you all for our ability to do that. I want to introduce our Associate Director, Nancy Weiss. One of the few people that can claim to be at all 20 bread and roses is. I want to thank Gary Clark, who is our Technical Assistance Program Manager. One of the things about the fund is the title really doesn't tell you much. Yeah. He does a lot of stuff. We all, thank you, Gary. Our newest grants program manager, who actually joined us last year as our administrator, you met her here if you didn't know her before, but Alina Richardson is running our grants program. And the newest member of the team, Javier Moreno, our administrative coordinator, looks pretty sharp in his suit. He doesn't dress like that every day at work, by the way. I also want to acknowledge Christina Gonzalez, whose fabulous work keeps the northern half of our county, keeps a fun presence there. She's not with us tonight, but let's give a hand for Christina. And finally, we have people that step up for us in a huge way. The colloquialism, we call them, is interns, but they do so much for the fund. We are a volunteer-led and driven organization, so I have to introduce 4 fabulous people. Hannah Gugino, who's interning with the fund for these last many months. Raquel Ramos, is right here. Kevin Evans, newest addition to the team. Last but not least, Ethan Breyer, who's been with us actually the longest. Ethan is here tonight, former YMC member. Thank you, Ethan. All right, how you feeling? You're like, is he done yet? Is he really? All right, I am. I want to thank you for your time, your energy, your dollars. I'm going to leave you with this note. We set out a goal to raise $200,000 tonight, a big record for us. We are almost there. We are almost there. And that is thanks to each and every one of you and several more who couldn't be with us here tonight. For the next part, which is our live auction, something you've all awaited, turn to your program books to that page. You'll see all the descriptions there. I'm going to introduce our newly recruited auctioneer, a former board member of the Fund for Santa Barbara, a donor to the Fund for Santa Barbara, a guy who runs a pretty notorious business locally, the doctor of dollars, a PhD in philanthropy. I told him I was going to say this cheesy stuff. I'm bringing up to the stage Gordon Morell, our auctioneer for the night. Please give him a hand.
All right, everybody, you ready to have a little fun? Are you ready to raise a little money? We're going to get this show on the road. The first item number, I got $1,400 in the back. How about $1,500 over here? You ready to do it? I know you're ready to do it. I got 15 right here. I got 16. You up for 16? How about